Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today I wanted to address this phenomenon. I know some of you want more response videos, and I might conjure up something of that nature tomorrow, but this particular concept has to be broken down in proper form, so we're going to use the traditional method. If you have perused the internet.com and the manosphere, it is likely you've witnessed this type of exchange. A guy, regardless of whether he can get women or not, alludes to the fact that particular interests, hobbies, or profession he has is higher on the totem pole than pursuing women all the time. They always be approaching. And what is the stereotypical reply? Oh, it sounds like you're coping, brah. Now, there's two fronts for this. We have the guys who are maybe on the incel or virgin side of things. Nothing wrong with that. And they're going to put a higher premium on getting laid. It's natural, right? If you don't have something, you value it more typically. Maybe they have a sense of insufficiency or insecurity over it, and that's understandable and natural. I don't think it's the healthiest attitude, but it is certainly easier to explain. Now, on the flip side, you have the suppository red pillars, the beta cuck chadginas, who are trying to make money off of telling men they have to fixate on women. And they're not able to get away from that because, of course, most of their money revolves around riling men up and, women this, women that. So even if they tell you in one breath to focus on your purpose, get money, forget about women, make her chase you because you're the prize, they always start trying to draw men back under this whole, dictatorship of the feminine, because otherwise how are they going to generate funds for their so-called online businesses? And in fact, I often find myself asking, have these guys actually run businesses or worked in a high-level profession? Because they don't seem to understand what it entails, okay? Let's say they put out the thing, you have to have a good job, high-class, high-status job, you make good money. Well, most of us know if you are earning $100,000 or more in the United States, you're probably working over 60 hours a week, if not a lot more. Lawyers, doctors, investment bankers, business people, easily 80, 90, 100 hours a week, depending on how extreme the market you are in tends to function. That's a lot of time, right? You'll hear them discuss, you need to set up residual streams of passive income. Most income, of course, is not passive. You could win $100 million on the stock market and put it in the bank at 1.5%. Sure, that would be sort of passive, assuming that interest rates are not slashed. But anything else, let's say you have a dividend growth investment portfolio, you have to keep up on it. You have to make sure the companies aren't going bankrupt. They're not in industries that are very sensitive to cyclical changes or commodity prices. This is what happened with a lot of these funds that went into oil and gas some years back. So you're going to be spending time on that. If you are a blogger, you have to put out content. If you're a content creator on YouTube, you have to be putting out consistent stuff. In fact, these guys, it's a live stream every day. It's lots of videos a week. This is not passive. This is very involving. The guy he's like a Satanist who supports Trump, I forget the name, he puts out 3 or 4 videos a day. That's draining. He's always talking about he's on coffee or Red Bull or whatever. Point being, it's going to take a lot of your time. They'll be learn day trading, brah. Day trading is immensely involving to learn and to do well, and certainly you need time to put forward the capital. That's why a lot of these dudes work overnight, then during the day or afternoon they're doing the trading. That's not going to be just a couple hours here or there. There's more than maintenance, time and resources. They'll say getting into real estate. Now, yeah, conceivably you could just put money into Fundrise and a REIT and you could generate returns off of that. However, you need capital to put in if you're going to make a significant return and live off of, which means you either have to inherit it or you have to make it somehow. So you have to have a good job or you have to have a business of some sort, which is going to take time. If you're buying the actual properties, let me tell you, it's not going to be a passive thing at all. Before I bought this current house, it was 5 or 6 months, a lot of the weekends or even weekdays I was going to see places. Some of them were dead ends, others had problems. Coordinating with real estate agents, then you have to deal with the attorneys, with the inspectors, You finally get the place. If you have to do repairs, you're talking to the contractors, getting the parts yourself. You might not always have the right tools. Fixing certain things, buying stuff you need for the house, getting it set up for tenants, very involving, right? Add to that the fact that, my regular job, I do earn over six figures, going back to what we're talking about. I work over 60 hours a week. I also do this. I do the blog. I'm writing 2 books now, one of which has a lot of citations I have to take from books. So as you might imagine, that is very time consuming. So I don't have a whole lot of time to always be approaching. Now I have access to a couple of chicks, and I also get on the apps occasionally. I can do okay. My point is, though, you don't have a ton of free time, I guess, to deploy focused on women. But the fact that you have a legitimate excuse of sorts or alternative means that you're coping. Because if you're not coping, that means you basically be able to walk away from a lot of these red pillars and leave them crying. And they don't want that, obviously. That's like the big joke about this whole dynamic. And it's sad how it keeps devolving. So you have a guy like Idaho Model Shipbuilder. He's got a great talent. I think it's fascinating. But building ships is unlikely to make a lot of women hot and heavy. Oh, is he coping because he has something he really likes to do that doesn't focus on women? According to red pillars, yes. If you, as I said in a video on simping, if you instead of lifting weights, you learn fencing, which is not going to make you have a great shirtless picture per se, that's not necessarily going to turn a ton of women on. Maybe you find someone on a fencing squad. But the point is, fencing squad, not like the Democrat squad. But again, maybe you prefer learning sword fighting to lifting weights in the gym. Again, you're not meeting their arbitrary standards, so you're coping in some sense. And then you, of course, have the way that they are constantly twisting and changing this tyranny of romantic or sexual expectations. And it'll be like, okay, guy gets an attractive girlfriend. Oh yeah, but you're not pumping and dumping. You don't have a high notch count. But if you pump and dump, then, but those aren't high quality enough women you're getting. And it goes on from there. So, if you have an attractive girl, they'll start trying to deconstruct that she's not really as attractive as she could be. Or better yet, they'll say she's not high up enough on the racial hierarchy of desirability. All this bullcrap, and it comes back to the fact that they're trying to get you to pay them money for consultations, buying books, whatever. A healthy dude can have a sex life without women being the only thing that he focuses and thinks about. And even the guys who are struggling to get women, to whatever extent you're successful at some point, you make changes, I would not advise throwing away everything you like to do in life if some of them are actually valuable and productive, just because you have to match up to these standards that people on the internet rant about. Ultimately, your life, I would think, you want to be a sum of more than simply trying to meet what other people expect you to do. Because, let's be real, if you really like something and you're good at it, why throw it aside because it's taking time out of, well, you gotta get laid, brah. So that's just what I would say. There's a healthy balance in everything. Having relationships, having a romantic life, that's good. I think it's overall positive. I'm not one of those, just go off and ignore everyone. But also be careful about these types that are trying to sell you stuff. Because what you'll find is that there are usually dudes who don't get women trying to inspire and lecture men who are struggling to get women that you've got to try harder to get women such that you can make us money as you're attempting to get women. So it's this really vicious and pointless cycle. Figure out the spot that works for you and go on from there, but don't allow your brain to be filled with too much of this stuff from the Simpo chamber and the beta cuck chaginas or manginas.